Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, today we have Alex Ireland. He's the head men's basketball coach, Dalton State. They are the Roadrunners. Beep, beep. Cascade Hoops Talk starts right now. Cascade Hoops Talk, produced in the shadow of the beautiful Cascade Mountains and bringing the world NAIA basketball. One podcast at a time. Hey, today we have Alex Ireland, as I said, head coach, Dalton State. They're in northern Georgia. Great basketball coach, great person. In fact, he's the 2024-25 coach of character in the NAIA. A great honor. He does a lot of work with the Southern States Conference as well. He's very active outside of coaching. He's a good guy. He's a great coach. I think you'll enjoy the conversation. Let's take a listen to Alex Ireland, head men's basketball coach, Dalton State. Cascade Hoops Talk, Billy D. Hey, I got Alex Ireland. He's the head men's basketball coach at Dalton State. They are the Roadrunners. Beep, beep. How you doing, Coach?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So you've, as we record this, you just had 1 day of practice. You're probably at the point of pulling out your hair right now after the first day, but just generally, how do you feel going into this season? You had a very good year last year. How do you feel going into this season?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm excited going into any year, but, we return some really good players and bring in a really, really good class, and I'm excited about the guys that we have coming in. I'm just anxious to see how they gel and how hard they'll work together. And do some of the intangible stuff that often makes a difference between winning and losing.
Well, you and I were just talking. You've got a pretty good core to match these guys, these new guys with, so it's you had a lot of juniors that were productive. So you've got a pretty good mixture of new guys and incoming. Do you tend to go with high school kids or transfers, JCs? How do you typically recruit?
I wish I could tell you how we typically recruit. I don't know that we have a typical.
Okay, yeah.
What's worked for me the past couple of years is just getting really creative and looking anywhere and everywhere. Yeah. And so we have some internationals on our team. We have some JUCO guys on our team. We have some 4-year transfers on our team, and we have a true freshman on our team. And I think for us, it really just comes down to. At this point, this is going into my 9th year in the SSAC. So I have a pretty good idea of what it takes to be successful. Or at least I think I do. And I look for guys that match that. And I look kind of wherever I have to. So it's a bit of a random free for all, I guess would be the best way to describe our recruiting process.
Well, isn't it still a little bit of with the change in the landscape, right? With the transfer portal and, guys jumping schools, has the whole landscape changed? Has your approach had to change over the last couple of years? Or is it just that? Go ahead.
No, I think you're exactly right. And I think it still changes kind of year to year. Uh-huh. I think early in the process, when I got here, I came from a Division I school. And I think I was able to kind of go transfer in the era where everybody was going to the junior college state tournaments. And, you go to Alabama or Mississippi or Georgia and you'd see 25, 30 coaches there. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of went that way. And then, first year we were 18-13, second year we were 30-3. And that was the year that COVID canceled the national tournament. And then after COVID, they kind of opened up the transfer rules. And that was a little bit less fruitful for us. It was a little harder to get in on some of those same guys that we were getting a couple of years ago when everybody's in junior college. And so, I don't think that we've pivoted back completely the other way. I think we're a little bit in the mixture, and it's a little bit of a year to year kind of case by case deal on just where we can find guys that we think fit our style, character wise, fit what we're looking for in our program. And then obviously, skill wise are as good as we need them to be.
You brought in quite a few new guys this year. What is the toughest part for you as a coach? What which part of what you want them to do seems to come the slowest? And what do they get the fastest?
That's a really good question, Billy. I think I think that, you know, there's different stages of kind of understanding what 4-year college basketball is, and it's Division I, Division II, NAIA. I've coached all three of them. Incoming players typically have the same struggles at all three levels, and a lot of times it's, you know, you're playing for a new coach, so you're learning a new style. Sometimes it's more freedom, sometimes it's more restrictive. You know, you're playing in a new league, so you know, when you go to some of these places, you know, in our league and obviously in other NAIA leagues across the country that are, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours away from home, you have officials you've never seen, you've never been in that gym, you're playing a team that has those officials every night, they play in that gym every night. There's a lot to deal with, and I think you see greater game slippage at that point. When you go that second year or third year, which you don't see a lot of 3-year guys at any school anywhere in the country at any level, but you have less game slippage, right? That anxiety of, you know, you walk into a gym and you've been playing with officials that call the game one way, and all of a sudden there's, you know, minimal contact that's been let go, you know, in almost all of the 10 or 12 or 13 games before that, and they're calling it. And now you're dealing with anxiety and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and you're not quite as focused on playing. So I think for us, you know, just getting guys comfortable in playing with each other, getting guys to the point where they can be instinctual, they quiet their minds a little bit, and they can just go out and be natural basketball players. I think that takes a little bit of time. I think the fundamental stuff they get pretty quick because we recruit really good players, but being able to go out and do the things that it takes to win the tough games on the road, you know, deep in the league, that's the stuff. That's typically the biggest challenge with incoming guys.
Yeah, you know, as a fan, that's what I've noticed as a fan is a young guy comes in, the first time through the conference seems pretty brutal on the road. They usually do pretty well at home, but you just mentioned each gym, each crowd, each student section. I mean, they're all different. And they get taken a little back. I mean, and I'm sure there's some places in your conference, but everybody's got those places that are just hard to play at, you know?
No, that's exactly right. I mean, it would be like if, you know, I was to take you and drop you in a completely new town and give you a set of instructions and tell you this is how you're getting to your destination. Well, man, you're on it, right? You're 10-2 and the radio's down, and you know, you've got to really focus to be able to get there. Whereas if I was to tell you, hey man, go to the corner store that you go to every day in your hometown, you know, it's a breeze. And that's the difference between experience and inexperience in basketball.
It's well put. Coach, we'd be remiss as we speak. The NAIA put out the bulk of their awards, I think yesterday, 2024-25 NAIA Coach of Character, National Coach of Character. Coach, what an honor. Tell me what it means to you and to the university to receive that, which is really an honor. I mean, talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, it was a shock to me, but a tremendous honor. I mean, there's so many good coaches at every school, in every sport that are, you know, impactful and character driven. You know, we're all character coaches. I mean, there's nobody coaching NAIA athletics anywhere that's in it for the money. You know, we're all here to impact lives and to, you know, make a positive impact on the kids that we coach. And so to be recognized for that, you know, I'm not 100% sure that I'm the one that should have gotten picked out of the whole bunch, just because there's so many good coaches, but it really is an honor, and it was really flattering.
Well, congratulations. And you talk about, we were talking about your conference and then the character. I've gotten to know Mike Hall over the last few years, doing the tournament down in Kansas City. He seems to be a man with a lot of character. I've interviewed him even a couple of times. Is he a pretty good commissioner to work with? You have to say yes now.
I would say yes, whether we were on the air or off the air. Mike is an incredible commissioner. He's an incredible leader. He's a pleasure to work with, and he's a guy that really gets, you know, he gets it. He gets it from the student athlete standpoint. He gets it from the coach's standpoint. He gets it from the administrative standpoint. And Mike works extremely hard to make sure that he does right by all parties involved.
So last season, you did well. You won the conference, but it was a dogfight. Life had a very good season. Some other schools. How do you see the conference right now?
It's a gauntlet. Our conference is outstanding. We had 6 teams in the national tournament, which goes to show you that when almost half of our teams made the national tournament, it goes to show you how talented every single team in the league is. And you really can't fall asleep any night. I think that the teams that have been good in our league will continue to be good, and I think there are some teams that in the next 2 or 3 years are going to really surprise people. So I think our league is good and getting better by the day.
What do you see as a few of the keys for the Roadrunners to be successful again in that Southern States Conference? As you said, it's going to be very competitive. What are some of the keys? I know it's early on, but what do you think you'll have to perform well?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, when you win the league, you're getting everybody's shot the best.
Yeah.
You're getting everybody's best shot every night. And so just understanding that we're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Last year we lost, I think 3 conference games, and all 3 times, they're celebrating on the court.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't storm the court or anything like that. But, and I told our guys, I said, that's the difference. I mean, you're getting everybody's best shot every night because you're in first place. And, understanding the burden that comes with that. Everybody wants to be good, but not everybody understands the burden that comes with being good. So, that'll be a big part of it. And then, we'll have a little bit of a change in leadership. We've had a couple of seniors. Kowalski Ricks was a senior captain of ours. Kevin Henry was a senior captain of ours. They were tremendous leaders, and they did so much for our program beyond putting the ball in the hole and, beyond running plays and getting stops and stats. And so some of our returners that were younger last year are going to have to step up and fill that role a little bit. Because, player-led teams win. And so we're going to have to kind of fill those voids, and we're going to have to teach the new guys how we do things, and then we're going to have to bring them along and hold them to that standard. And so I think those will be the 2 biggest challenges. I think basketball-wise, we'll be able to figure it out if we can figure those 2 things out.
Earlier you said you kind of have a flex fit when you're out recruiting, basically, find the best basketball player you can that fits you. What are some of those keys that you look for? Every coach has those, he's got to be good at this, but he's got to be really good at this. Is it more culture stuff or fundamental stuff, or what do you really look for?
It's a combination of both. We have certain positional kind of non-negotiables that we look for in each position. Obviously, we're not going to hold a point guard to a shooting guard the same, right? They're going to have different individual skills. Same thing with a post guy and a wing, or a post guy and a point guard. But, in general, I kind of like to look at guys that I think are competitors, guys that I think are tough.
Yeah.
Guys that I think play the right way, and also guys whose teammates like to play with them. And I think, we spend a lot of time watching the guys that we recruit. We don't just kind of, take kids because they have good highlight tapes, or take kids because they have good numbers. And we've turned down some Division I and Division II transfers that had pretty good numbers, or really good Division I junior college transfers that had good numbers. And we've taken some Division II and Division III junior college guys that have worse numbers, but I think just have intangibles off the charts. And so really we try not to compromise. We try to find guys that fit both categories, that have the talent and the skill level, but also have the character and the toughness, and play the way that at least I think is the right way to play. I'm sure not every coach sees that exactly the same, but try to find guys that I think fit that mold.
The other day I was talking to Mitch McMillan. He's the new head men's basketball coach over at York in the KCAC there, and he was talking about, he spent a good share of the summer going through Twitter or X, or whatever you call it, going through on prospects, and ended up Xing out a lot of them because of that. Do you find that that's an issue? Do you guys look at that social media pretty tight?
Yeah, and a lot of, to be frank, a lot of recruiting starts on social media.
Right.
With kids posting that they're transferring or they're in the portal, or you can typically look at a kid's social media and tell what level of school is involved with him. But yeah, I mean, it's a very inexact science, and I think each coach has to figure out what works for them, right? There's, Kevin Easley's a great coach. What works for him may not work for me, and vice versa.
That's
and
true,
Darnell Archie's the same way, and Scott Sanderson's the same way, and Steve Knight's the same way. We all have to figure out who we can coach the best way that we know how to. And, I think in order to do that, you try to get the best total picture of not just the player, but the human being, and who you can work with every day. I mean, it's no different than going to an office building, and if the guy in the cubicle next to you and you are, oil and water, if you guys are polar opposites and you're butting heads every day, then it's not going to be a great working environment. And a team is I want to say a team is no different, but a team is a little bit different because that's amplified because the proximity with which you work with that person and the amount of hours you spend with them in college basketball is far greater. So I would say any method that we can, social media, conversations with other people around them, conversations with people they've played against, just whatever we can do to get the best total picture possible.
Another factor that goes in along with that is you end up traveling a lot with these guys. What is the travel like in your conference? You're in northern Georgia there. What is your furthest trip?
So our furthest trip is Loyola, which is about eight hours away. Mobile and William Carey are a little closer to 6. Typically we're with the exception of the Mobile trip or the Loyola trip, typically we're anywhere between 6 and 2. Now, life is an hour down the road. But pretty much everything else is somewhere between 6 and 2. And it's not terrible. We do a good job in our league of pairing teams with each other so that if we are going to Loyola, we're going to get another game either on the way back or, Mobile and Cary are fairly close. So you play one of the two of them. It doesn't always work out that way, but more often than not, it does. And we've actually broken our league up into divisions so that I only have to go to Loyola every other year, or Mobile every other year, or Cary every other year. So we'll play them every year, but we won't go there every single year. And that obviously from a student athlete welfare standpoint and an academic standpoint really helps, because when you make those trips, you miss class and it's hard to do a lot of things you have to do academically.
So last season you had the honor of hosting that first and second round. You end up falling, what was in the second round first round to St. Mary.
First round.
Yeah. Obviously you weren't happy about being beat, but talk about what that an honor, what it means to Dalton State to be able to host those first 2 rounds.
Yeah, it is a tremendous honor. And I think our administration did an amazing job and just working to make sure that our gym was compliant so we could secure a bid. And then obviously we've hosted soccer many years in a row. We hosted the golf men's national tournament 2 years ago. We're hosting the golf women's national tournament this year. And so our administration and our AD just retired, John Jadon, in March, but our administration's done such an amazing job and has gained us so much credit with the NAIA for the job we've done in other sports that I think is an easy sell to say, hey, look, we're going to do it right. And we're going to make it a positive experience for everybody. And, to get to host was phenomenal. Obviously you want to play home games in the national tournament if at all possible. But we had a tremendous pod with Ave Maria and us, and then, St. Mary of the Woods, who Ken French kind of he told us all in the National Selection Committee, he said, somebody's going to be really, really upset drawing St. Mary of the Woods in the first round. Yeah. And little did I know it would be me. But then Xavier as well. I mean, Xavier had Ave Maria beat dead to rights the first night And so, both higher seeds in that pod could have fallen on the first night, but just a really phenomenal pod, and the experience of getting hosted was incredible.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate, I know you're busy nowadays. I really appreciate you taking a few minutes this morning. I really look forward to getting you back on once the games start. I'll just hit you up. I got your text, so I'll dial you in maybe after a big win or something of the sort. I'd like to get you back on after we start playing basketball.
I would love that. I always look forward to talking to you, A, because you're a friend, and B, because that means it's basketball season.
That's right. That's right. It's basketball season. Well, I can't wait. I think as we talk right now, I think we're like, most teams are around 35 to 40 days away. And I wish you a lot of luck as you kick that thing off. And like I say, we'll talk again after we start playing basketball. But thank you again for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
That's Alex Ireland, head men's basketball coach, Dalton State. They are the Roadrunners. Thank you, Coach. Hey, thanks a lot, Alex Ireland and Dalton State. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate him giving me that time. I just want to say a postscript here. I talked about Mike Hall. He's the commissioner there at the Southern States. I do work with him at the tournament every year. He is a phenomenal guy. He is fantastic. I interviewed him. It's about 6-7 minute interview. He really understands, and he does everything he can for the student athlete. He's just a really good guy. He's a guy more people should know about. Mike Hall, he's the commissioner of the Southern States. Hey, thanks a lot to everybody, and we'll be back with you. I think now it's next week. I always get ahead on these shows, but I think now we'll be back next week. Again, one more time, I appreciate everybody's support here in these early season shows, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much for supporting our podcast. Please like and subscribe. Get out to your local NAIA school, because NAIA basketball is the best entertainment value in America.